You've got it in your wallet, right? Or at least in your bank account. But the US dollar, it's so much more than just cash. It's this invisible force kind of shaping everything around us, from the gas you put in your car to the phone you're probably holding right now. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on this unseen power and figure out how, exactly, the dollar ended up running the whole show.
Seriously, think about it for a second. What makes one currency the king of the hill? I mean, there are almost 200 countries out there, each with its own money. So why does one of them get to hold all the cards? What's the secret sauce that makes the US dollar the foundation for, well, pretty much everything?
Okay, so the dollar's power, it's sneaky. It's not something you see, but trust me, it's everywhere. You know that cup of coffee you had this morning? The beans for that? Yeah, they were probably bought and sold in dollars. The gas for your commute? Priced in dollars. It's like this constant quiet hum running in the background of the entire world economy.
You know, the easiest way to wrap your head around this is to think of the dollar as the world's financial operating system. Seriously. Just like your computer needs Windows or Mac OS to run all its programs, the global economy needs a platform to run on, and that platform is the US dollar. It's the default setting for pretty much all international business.
But wait a minute. How do we get here? How did one currency get to be the planet's financial OS? Well, to get the full story, we've got to rewind. We have to go all the way back to the end of the biggest war in history, World War II.
So before World War II, it was all about the British pound. That was the top dog. But the war, it completely changed the game, redrew the whole economic map. The real turning point was in 1944. All these world leaders get together at a place called Bretton Woods and basically design a whole new system from scratch. Then you add in the Marshall Plan, where the US is pumping dollars into Europe to help rebuild, and suddenly, dollars are everywhere. And here's the crazy part. Even when the US cut the dollars linked to gold in the 70s, it didn't matter. The system was already running on dollars. The trust was already there.
And this Bretton Woods system, it was a genius move. Here's how it worked. The US said, our dollar is backed by gold. That gave it stability nobody else had. Then they told everyone else, link your currency to our dollar. Bam! Just like that, the US dollar becomes the center of the financial universe. If you were any other country, you couldn't think about your own money without thinking about the dollar first.
Now, this wasn't just some clever idea cooked up in a room. It was a reflection of what was actually happening in the world. I mean, think about it. Europe's economies were completely wrecked, in ruins. But America, its industries were firing on all cylinders, basically supercharged by the war. The US was really the only country left standing with enough economic muscle to support a system this big.
Okay, but that was a long time ago, right? Over 75 years. So history tells us how the dollar got started, but what keeps it at the top of the heap today? Well, it all comes down to three huge, unshakable pillars.
So what are they? First, you've got global trust. Second, it's unmatched utility, basically how useful it is. And third, the pure, raw economic might of the US. So let's dig into each of these and see how they all lock together to keep the dollar in charge.
All right, pillar number one, trust. At the end of the day, money is just an idea we all agree to believe in. It's all about trust. And right now, investors, governments, big companies, they all trust the US system. Why? Because it has a relatively stable political system, independent courts, and laws that don't just change on a whim. If you're managing billions of dollars for your country, you're not going to stash it somewhere the rules might get rewritten tomorrow. No way. You're going for the safest bet you can find.
Okay, next up, pillar two, utility. It's not just that people trust the dollar, it's that it's just so darn useful. It's become the default language of international business. Central banks all over the world hold piles of dollars just in case, to keep their own economies steady. If a country needs a big international loan, chances are it's going to be in dollars. And the big one, the most important commodities on Earth are all priced in dollars.
And speaking of commodities, there's one in particular that is a huge piece of this puzzle. You guessed it, oil. So what's the deal with oil and the dollar?
Oh, it has everything to do with it. This is what people call the petrodollar system, and it's a game changer. Think about it. Pretty much every country on Earth needs oil, right? And the global oil market runs on US dollars. So if you need to buy oil, you first need to get your hands on US dollars. This creates this incredible, non-stop, worldwide demand for the currency. It's a built-in advantage that no other currency has. You want to power your country? You need dollars. End of story.
And that brings us to the third and final pillar, which is really the engine driving this whole thing, the sheer economic might of the United States.
The dollar isn't just floating out there. It's backed by one of the largest and most innovative economies on the planet. Its financial markets like Wall Street are what they call deep and liquid. That just means you can move enormous amounts of money in and out without causing a panic. Plus, you have powerful institutions like the Federal Reserve, whose whole job is to keep things stable.
And all this creates this really interesting, kind of paradoxical situation. When things get scary around the world, a financial crisis, a big conflict, you'd think people would run away from the dollar. But they do the exact opposite. They run to it. For decades, the dollar has been seen as the ultimate safe haven. It's where you park your money when you're afraid of losing it. So get this, when the world is in crisis, demand for the dollar actually increases. It gets stronger right when everyone else is getting weaker.
So with all this power, it leads to the billion-dollar question, or maybe the trillion-dollar question: can this last forever? Is there another currency out there waiting to take the throne? All right, let's take a look at the main contenders.
Really, when you boil it down, there are two main challenges people talk about: the euro and the Chinese yuan. The euro has a lot going for it. It's backed by a massive economic bloc. But its big problem is that you have all these different countries with different politics and different economic needs, all trying to share one currency. It causes friction. Then there's the yuan. It's backed by China's powerhouse economy, which is a huge plus. But, and this is a big but, the Chinese government keeps it on a really tight leash. It's not freely traded, and global investors get pretty nervous about parking their money in a currency that isn't transparent and open.
And even if those rivals didn't have weaknesses, there's another massive hurdle: inertia. Just the system itself. Think of it like the plumbing of global finance. All the software, the legal contracts, the payment systems, even just the habits of businesses and banks around the world, it's all built around the dollar. To rip all that out and install a whole new system? Wow, that would be an unbelievably complicated, expensive, and chaotic job.
So, for the time being, it looks like the king is staying on the throne. But it does leave us with a really fascinating question to chew on. For our entire lives, we've lived in a world with just one main financial operating system. What would a world with, say, 2 or 3 of them look like? Would it be a more balanced, maybe fair world? Or would it be more chaotic, more unstable? Honestly, that might be one of the single biggest economic questions we'll face in this century.